What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall markets. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2.5 weeks from now. Anyways, let's talk about the markets. So, as far as Tesla is going, just know that we got this big red bar right over here. We attempted to rebound to make a lower high right here, and we're going to be watching to see if we turn over. But overall, just be very, very mindful of the fact that there could be a lower high being established that could slow things down for Tesla and the markets. But I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Just know that so far there's news coming out that Tesla's Giga Berlin's new water supply contracts have gotten approved, and this is a good piece of news for them because it does give them a better ability to expand. This allows them to get closer to being able to expand their overall capacity from 500,000 to 1 million units. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that this has brought some scrutiny about them kind of polluting the area. And I think that that's something that Tesla has to work with the locals about how they're going to be negotiating about that. But I just want to say that there's going to be a pros and cons to decisions like this when it comes to their expansion. Of course, trees may have to get cut down, and factors like that have to happen. But the question is, what's the bigger cost of getting more and more of those EVs out there to expand like this, right? There might be some harms to the environment, right? Having to cut down trees and such, but ultimately it could lead to a bigger improvement when it comes to replacing gas powered cars, because in the future they're going to become a lot cleaner as time goes on. The EVs and the process at building the EVs is what I'm referring to. That's going to become cleaner, and I think that's very important to remember. That there's going to be like weights you have to account for. So you guys can decide on what you think about that. I'm just calling out a different way of looking at that. Then on top of this, there's some news coming out. The Model Q is supposed to be coming out in the first half of 2025, according to reports. Deutsche Bank did report this. That's another good piece of news that's still making headlines. I went over this in more detail yesterday, so you guys can check that out for more details. Anyways, for today, there's not really much data coming out. Going forward, most of the data is out already. We do have the WASDE report at noon, and then some bill auctions, excuse me, between 11:30 and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But there's not really much else. We have a couple of retail announcing earnings like AutoZone and a few more, not to mention GameStop later on. But that is it for now. Anyways, what do I see at least for the markets? So as far as Tesla goes, we had this high right here. We're trying to rebound, but we're doing not the best of jobs of trying to break past that high. So I think that in this mid 390 area, which is what I talked about yesterday, I did expect us to test the mid 390s to 400 area. I said we have to try to get back above 400 to remain bullish. If we come short, this could be rejecting. I think there's a good chance of that happening. So if Tesla gets back above 400, we hold above this, we could turn back to bullish. If we come short and we can't hold above 400, there's going to be a risk of us turning back down, and we could be dipping back down towards the 380 area all over again, if not 377, which is very close to where our 20 EMA is going to be. So keep that in mind, guys. There is a good chance. The most likely possibility is that we pumped here, we came down, made a lower high, now we're about to start dipping. That is the most likely possibility here, as we have this imbalance over here that's developing. So that could lead us to dipping back down towards the 382 to 380 area, and potentially even 376. So we had a high here. We came down. We could be making a lower high based off this test. There's going to be a risk of us dipping if that ends up failing. As far as SPY goes, just know that SPY is also showing some weakness, at least during this pre-market session. We have a double top leg structure off this bearish divergence, and we got this rejection. Notice that we tried to rebound, but now we're hitting our 20 EMA at 605, only to reject off of that. So to be bullish, you want to get back above 605.36 and then 606 and start pushing back up towards these highs up here. If you're bearish, you want to see us reject here and fail to hold it above 605. So the odds favor 604, then potentially 602 is our potential targets on SPY. So I favor a move back down to 604. If that fails us, 602 is most likely coming. So please keep that in mind. For Nvidia right now is trying to base here, and I did call this out yesterday, how we could retest 137. We might try to base. We could be retesting 137 again, consolidating here, but I'm seeing a little bit of weakness that still remains on this chart. It does not look like it's ready to bounce quite yet, unless we get back above 140. But we might see a lot of consolidation between 137 and 140. If 137 fails, look for 135. But for the most part, I just think we're going to see a lot of sideways price action right over here. We could get a bounce later on off 137, but it doesn't look like we're ready yet. It may take a little bit longer. For Bitcoin, we're trying to rebound here. We're looking for essentially 98,400 as our target. I think that this might try to push a bit, but then we'll see how it reacts to that. For ES, just like SPY, we're rejecting right over here. This is a nice setup because we are testing the previous resistance becoming support around 60.60, but there's also more previous resistance becoming support at 60.40. So it would be more healthy if we actually come back down towards 60.50 to 60.40. Then we'll see if we get a bounce off of that. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. There's going to be a risk of that on ES for a smaller dip. Now, notice on NQ, I was calling this out yesterday, how this might kind of pop a bit, and we could be forming like a left shoulder here, a head up here, and then maybe a right shoulder could be forming. So as time goes on, we could kind of push it, but then start dipping lower and make our way closer to about these lower levels. So look and see if we could hold above 21,500. If we do, we could attempt to rebound. Otherwise, if we fail, we could turn and make our way back down towards 21,400 and 21,344. This looks like a head and shoulder, so I favor a little pop to the right shoulder and a dip as the most likely possibilities. For the QQQ, same thing. We have a head and shoulders like structure. We're going to be looking at the support at 521.5. If that fails, let's look for 520, then the gap fill for 517. We did come up to 523, which is what I predicted yesterday to retest that resistance, but now we're starting to reject here. So it could be a head and shoulders. That's what I'm looking out for right here. Watch and see if we get that rejection. And if 521.5 fails, this QQQ will be dipping even more. For Apple, we pumped very, very nicely to my target of 248. We'll see if we can get closer to 250 or not. Just know the resistance is getting tougher here. So look for some consolidation at 248 to 250. Then we could be making our way back down to 246 if that fails us. So just keep that in mind. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're a little bit more bearish right now because of the fact that we are technically downtrending. The reason why we're downtrending is because 236 is going to be our main target. We're making it lower highs right over here. So we could pop and start dipping closer to 236. So we'll see if we bounce or not. So just keep that in mind. For Coin is kind of stuck right here in the middle. We have 321 as our resistance and 312 as our support. So I expect us to consolidate in that range for now. It could attempt to push for 321 because of Bitcoin, but then I'm not expecting it to break out too hard. It might just see some tighter consolidation for the time being within a range. Amazon's looking weaker right here. We got this rejection off this big red bar, which could take us down closer to about 225. If that fails us, we're looking for even lower levels such as 224.4, eventually 222. So this might turn back down to 225 or lower if this ends up failing. So just keep that in mind. For Meta, we have kind of like a head and shoulders like structure that could be developing. It depends if it could hold above 620 or not. If it doesn't hold, expect a retest of 611. I think we might retest it, then we'll see if it holds or not. Microsoft is kind of dipping right here. This imbalance may take us down to about 442, then 440. So look for some potential downside before we attempt to bounce. And then for Google, we look a lot more bullish. I think Google's outperforming the market big time. That's because we got some bullish news that's come out. So that is some good news right here about the fact that Google's once again partnering with some new AI developments. And I think that's a good piece of news. And this could lead to a little bit more upside. We're going to be looking for essentially the 185 targets. If that breaks, our next target is going to be all the way up where this wick is around 188. So we do look bullish on Google. This could offset the other tech stocks that are slowing down, at least to some extent. But it might not be enough to cause the market to bounce. This could push on its own, but then other stocks are a little bit heavier. So my view of the market is quite simple. The market has attempted a rebound, but so far it's looking like the market is struggling to make a higher high relative to before. I mean, it looks like we could be making a lower high. So Tesla, for example, could be making a lower high here, which does increase the odds of a little bit of a dip that could be coming. So please keep that in mind, guys. Upon open, we might see some consolidation around the 392 area. If we don't get back above 395, then eventually 400. The odds are favoring that if we fail to do that, we could be turning, making our way back down to the 380s, especially around 382 as a potential target. All right. So thank you all so much for listening. Please have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.